Welcome to Bugeyeguy Central this week for a quick walking tour and see what we have going on here. In particular, in this video, I want to show you this 59 MGA Mark I, and we'll get to that in a minute. We've got a lot of interesting vehicles all lined up here. From my particularly favorite time in British motoring, this is a 60 MGA coupe. And of course, from the late 50s, early 60s, we have a lot of these wonderful cars. That's a 67 GT in green over there. And of course, we have Bugeyes scattered everywhere of all different degrees of restoration and flavor, and some Morris Minors sprinkled in as well. All beautiful shapes, all from about the same period in English motoring. This 1500A is a 59, the first series. You'll notice the taillight pods have a single light, and then they went on to the 1600 series, which had its double light on the pod there. That's a plinth. That sort of assembly there stuck on the fender is the plinth, and that's the turn signal on the top and the brake light and parking light underneath. And then on the Mark II 1600s, the last series of MGAs, there's no light at all on the fender there on the outboard side of that beading, and then this kind of bigger, more cumbersome light assembly, but you end up with this nice clean fender line. So each one has its really spectacular form to it. Very simple and subtle differences, but yet really interesting nonetheless. And in fact, the fellow that purchased this red Mark IIA also purchased this coupe, so he's got one of each, and I certainly applaud that. I have one of each as well. So the other really interesting thing, again, before we get on to our 1500, is that this hardtop, this coupe, there weren't very many of them. I think they only made about 4,000 MGA coupes in total, and the last one would have been a 62 or thereabouts. They didn't make many of the Mark IIs with coupes. Most of them looked like that 1960. But the next coupe that MG made was this hardtop here, the GT, and that was the fastback. And that's a 67 GT. There are many 66s. I think they launched it in 65. I've never seen a 65 GT, but interesting that from 60 and this form, they progressed in 65 or thereabouts to the GT in that form. So it's kind of interesting to see that evolution. Anyway, on to our subject for this little video, which is really this 1500 Roadster. This is a really nice, clean car, wire wheel car, painted wires, drum brakes in the front, nice knockoffs. You can see here on our Mark II Roadster chrome wire wheels instead of painted, but with white wall tires, so a little different look. You also have here these nice small parking lights. They're sort of pointy and really a little bit more just more graceful than the later parking lights. And then we have a very simple grille, the original grille. Good bumper, good chrome, really nice lines on this car, and this particular example has no issues, there are no dents, there's no rust, and the beading is in nice shape. Many of these cars have had the beading painted, which is really, I think, a bit of a mistake, but nice to see one with the beading in the correct color. That's the seam between the fender and the body, and then we have these nice chrome pieces here. All that's in nice shape. It's all been replaced. There's a big stack of receipts that come with this car. So many of the parts were changed on the car. Really, the engine was rebuilt, the suspension was rebuilt. If you look underneath, there are tons of new parts, and all the seams and gaps are good. We do have a common issue with many of these old British cars is some things go on where people take these out, put them back in, they put in one top, they put in a different top. This one has a blank here, and there are also a couple of little depressions here where I think some of the, here's one, you can sort of see maybe the fittings were filled in. So it's not quite perfect on the dashboard, but it's a very subtle thing. I'm not sure you would have noticed it if I hadn't pointed it out. There's one little blemish here, probably from the same thing. And then we have this nice walnut dash. They were originally painted, but this walnut was a very popular accessory.